this final section, I'm going to go over the actual Unity integration for the new texture sets. The first step, you'll be able to download this, let me get a wider window here, this structure here, name of asset underscore custom set name with different folders. Not all of these folders will be used by you necessarily. If you're just doing a new texture set, then you probably don't need the rig, music, sound effects, or Unreal animations, so you can delete those. If you're doing a new animations, then you'll want to include the rig only if you've added to the rig. If you haven't added to the rig, then you'll delete that. Unreal animations, those are animations, are a single FBX file for each animation. The Unity project, which you'll export in a bit, will include the single take FBX file that Unity expects. That would be an FBX file without the model. Again, if you do change the rig, then you will need a new model for both of these. Otherwise, you won't need that. Substance Painter files, Substance Designer files, sound effects if you have new sound effects, music if you have new music, and for the new textures, like we're doing right now with the Designer and Painter, you'll want the exports, game-ready exports here. That's helpful for Unreal users who can't use the SBS AR files inside Unreal easily like you can in Unity. So I've done that here already with the Spiders Pack DDR underscore set 2. I've got my model textures, Substance Designer files, Substance Painter files. I still need to create my model textures, but we'll do that within Unity right now. So I've brought in into the Spiders Pack here a new folder called Procedural Materials, and call this Procedural Materials just set 2. So name that whatever you're naming your add-on, and inside that we've got our 4 materials. Now I'm going to go to the demo scenes here. I'm going to copy the Spiders texture customization demo. I'm just going to call this Spiders texture customization set 2 and load that up. I will save my set 1, and let's see, delete those. That was just me working. Alright, so now I'm going to replace these models with the new textures. So let's start with spider eggs. Simply select the models there and bring the new look over. And again with the spiders, the hair is not being modified in this update, so we're going to ignore that. Alright, one thing to keep in mind is to make sure all of these have been reset. I'd been playing with Spider 2 there, so I want to make sure I reset this to default settings. Select the material on the top right, there's a reset button. There we go. Now you do want to double check, make sure everything's working properly. So you can go down to your settings here, or just your view. Spider eggs, let's just double check that this is damage blend is working. It's good. And in general, I prefer to have these preset at the resolution I want them to be at. So for the spider eggs, I'll put it to 1024. There we go. That's better resolution. Click this, just do some modifications just to make sure things are working as you expect. There we go. So that seems to be working, so I'm going to go back up here to the reset button. So I'm going to do the same thing to the other files. I'll just speed up the video. Alright, so the reason why we want to check it is because sometimes we make mistakes. I've clearly made some mistakes here with the spider one, and I need to fix it up. So currently I've got my leg segments 2 and connections actually split. You can see the connections right here on the texture sphere, and this is actually leg segments 2, so I've got that and connections backwards. You can see the effect of this right there. Also, leg connections, which is really leg segments 2, seems to be affecting the abdomen when it's not supposed to be, and I also have an issue where the body is affecting what should be leg segments 2. So I'm going to redo this texture in Substance Designer and make sure I've got everything working. And then when I'm done with that, I'm just going to replace this file with the new one, which will update it Unity without having to reconnect everything. Alright, so I've updated redone actually the texture. I am going to set this to the default texture resolution of 2048 by 2048 because one of the issues I may have been facing was that at the lower resolution the color ID is actually resized as well, and resizing the resolution lowers it changes the transition between colors, which could have been affecting some of that issues I was seeing there, but not all. Definitely not all. So I'm going to check this once again. Alright, I'm satisfied with the look. Everything's working properly, so I'm resetting it one last time. So now we're just going to create a copy of this to that file because or object because we want to make it easy for users to quickly create their own, and we want to make it easy for ourselves as well. So I'm going to create a brand new one here. I'm just going to delete these right here and create a new one, empty object. I'm going to call it CT2T, copy this to that, set 2. And we're going to add the component, copy this to that. You can just type in SFB2 and you'll get all my scripts right here, copy this to that. Let's see, we're going to include environment, even though I'm not going to be adjusting the environment, we should still include it because others may. And we're going to start with the queen, so we'll start with that as our source, and then we'll set that as the target as well, just in case we want to use any of those. Set that as our target, number 2, and number 1 as our target. Now, this will copy anything from the left section, which is going to be the spider 3, the big guy over there, to these sections on the right. It will populate things that are named the same. So I've got misspelling there, it looks like, pedipalp. So we can fix that by just pedipalp 1 tips. And the other pedipalps don't have pedipalp 1, so we'll have to set those by hand. Pedipalp 1 tips and pedipalp 1 right there. The rest should stinger versus stingers. Stinger versus stingers. I think earlier I mentioned naming things the same, and I didn't do that as I should have. Apparently I forgot an S or add an S, one of the two. Everything else seems to be proper, and so I'm just going to look at this, make sure, do I want any of these? I don't need to copy body, but no, I don't think I need any of those, so I actually don't need to do any of those, so I'll just delete all of them. So we're just going to be copying everything that we changed from number 3 here to number 2 and number 1. With that set, I'm also going to move this down here, adjust this copy or mass export. So we'll export all 3, and spiders set to default. And I'm going to remove the height, I'm going to remove emissive, I'm going to set the normal map mode because I want these to, I'm also going to merge with the group. And we're going to call this spiders set 2. Sorry, set 2. And when possible, I'm going to use the same normal map, AO, metal rough from the previous one. And I'm going to export those right now, just so that I can get the default export before I start modifying things. Alright, now that those have been exported, I would find them in the exported materials right here, Spider Set 2. The textures there and the materials will be there as well. So now I'm going to modify the queen, and well, then we'll copy these over. So let's see. Oh, and one thing I do want to check with the copy this to that. I do not want to change the spikes on number 2 here. So from the spikes oh, spikes should be up here. Where are they? Right there. So well, maybe let's see what happens. I want to just watch that because there are 2 different types that look for the spikes. So I just want to, watch that, make sure it looks okay. What I could do is modify the spike with the stingers, but I'll just pay attention to it. So go to my Spiders 3 here, and I'm just going to start modifying this. First thing I need to do, of course, is set the texture modification and then the damage blend. I prefer the dirty look. It's the look I want to use. So before I do any more modifications, I'm going to use my mass exporter once more. Whoops. I'm going to use my copy this to that. I'm going to copy all actions. To speed up this process, I'm going to unclick the save changes. That way, after it copies, it won't try to rewrite all the SBSAR files, and it'll save me a few minutes per round. The only downside is if that is Unity quits, or if I quit, any changes I make won't be saved. So that's not a huge deal. Any exports I make will always be saved. It's just if it quits in the middle of modifying the settings halfway through, it's not a huge deal really, but it speeds things up. Alright, now we'll see these will update and be dirty as well. Double check, make sure this is the right resolution. It is, okay. And then we'll do the mass exporter and export these. Alright, and now I'm going to start doing the actual color modifications. And I'm going to repeat the step where I modify it, copy this to that, and then mass export for each look I like. I'm just going to speed up the video for this. So I've exported a bunch of sets, and if you're going to do this, you're going to have to export a few sets. The idea is to show some of the things you can do with the texture you've created. So it's an important step. It helps for end users basically who don't want to deal with customizing their own stuff. It's a great asset to have pre-made textures, and it's a good way for you to show what can be done with your textures you've created. So I'm going to now change these all to JPEG. So by default they're all target images, and those take up a decent amount of size. Right now it's 473 megabytes. So I'm just going to search here for .tga images, and I'm going inside this set here. I'm going to change those all to JPEGs. Now it's only 162 megs, so it's about 1/3, give or take, the space. Now if I go back into Unity, all those that I just converted have to be re-imported, so that'll take just a minute. Alright, and the other thing is, all of these got removed. So I'm going to use a little tool I created under, I believe... Alright, so I'm going to select all these and use my tool up here, Space Studios, and it's going to be, which one is it? Populate Exported Material Textures. Now, it's not going to work on all of them because I'm copying or sharing texture sets, but it'll help out a little bit. So now we've got Spider Protection 1 set, but not these other ones. So we do have to do some manual work here. Basically, we just need to repopulate all these maps. It's the downside to using PNG files. However, using PNG files is a lot better for the end user. So it's something we want to do for them, basically. That's nice of us, right? I think it's nice of us. Alright, now we've got all of our exported materials. I'm going to move that into the exported textures and materials folder here. That way they'll all be set, ready to go. That's, I believe, pretty much it. We do have to export this now. We're going to export a Unity package. It's very important. You're only going to be including things that you have created. In other words, if you have created new animations, you'll only be including the animation files. If you've created, unless you've also changed the rig, in which case you'll include the rig file, and we'll have to figure, and that's it, no textures, etc. If you've changed the textures, you're only going to be exporting the textures, materials, and the procedural materials, and the texture customization scene that you've created. Alright, so once we got our procedural materials, exported materials, and demo scene selected, right click and click the export package. First thing, unclick include dependencies, and then you're going to remove anything that you are not going to be including. So for the demo scenes here, exclude everything and then add in just the texture customization for your set, for your update. We can include all of our exported materials for Type 2 and the procedural materials. We're going to export that. We're going to call it, for in this case, Spiders Pack PBR. That's always going to be the name of the package that you're updating. And we're going to call this Set 2, which is the name of my texture set. And then you're going to save it with all your other stuff in the folder structure that I created. Just save it right there. There we go. So we're done with the Unity integration. The last thing is just to include the bare textures over. So again, go back to your texture set here, reveal these in your desktop. We can save Unity and quit now. And we're going to include just the texture sets. We haven't updated the model. We can keep the name the same, model and texture. That's fine. It's supposed to be model and textures. Before I forget. Whoops. Right, model and textures. And then we're going to, I can just drag all of these over, and I'm just going to delete the meta files and the materials. So make a copy of all that. We're going to do a search inside these for .meta and delete all those, and .material, delete all those. Alright, go back, and now we only have our textures with the PNG files. Alright, so that's pretty much all there is to it. You can then compress this into a zip file and send that along to me. It's a sizable zip file. If it's too big for you, then compress each of these individually, but I prefer the big one, and you can send those over and I'll check them out. It's important that you do all the checking here, because my job is not to check these out. You're going to be making the money here, and so your job needs to make sure everything is set up properly for the end users to use. So if you have any questions, let me know, and have a great day.